guest that I'm going to introduce is really the man behind the 24-minute miracle. I am just a bystander, and I watch in amazement as he does his work every year. So without further ado, I'd like to invite and introduce my friend, Bryan Ransom. Since 1988, Bryan has been involved with the School of Music and Dance at San Diego State University. He currently serves as the director of athletic bands. In addition to his responsibilities with the university, he is active in live music and sporting event productions. Large-scale entertainment production credits include multiple Super Bowl pregame shows, halftime shows, and postgame shows. The Pro Bowl, Thanksgiving Day pregame, halftime shows, Major League Baseball's All-Star games and opening day ceremonies, my goodness, the Davis Cup tennis matches, soccer events, and the college football playoff national championship game. For 25 years, Mr. Ransom also served as the stage manager and on-field entertainment coordinator for our very own San Diego Chargers. So without further ado, Bryan, it's great to see you again, and I love seeing you in these cities that we go to. And tell us your secrets, man. I think you're muted there.
Yes, I'm still getting the hang of this mute, unmute thing. It's only been a year and a half, but yeah, I got it now. Unmuted. Thanks, Jay, for your kind introduction. You make it sound like I don't have any time for my wife and kid, but I actually do. Everything works out well between my work at San Diego State and my other side jobs. The 24-minute miracle. What is that? What does it mean? Well, we have 7 minutes to put a stage on a football field and get it powered up. A 12-minute show followed by 5 minutes to get the whole thing off. And each year we think it's a miracle that actually happened. Can we switch to our deck now, please? Great. So just for a little context, it's 24-minute miracle. It takes an average stage crew about 12 hours, an average of 12 hours to set up a touring rock and roll stage in an arena. So you can see the challenge that we're under in that 24-minute time period. So from Super Bowl I through Super Bowl 67, Super Bowl I in 1967 through Super Bowl 26, the halftime entertainment was generally college marching bands and large variety shows such as Up With People. But in 1993, that all changed when this guy popped out of a toaster, as they call it, from underneath the stage and kind of changed the direction of Super Bowl halftime shows. Between the stage design and the casted audience on the field, he ushered in all new possibilities of what a show sandwiched in between two halves of a football game could actually be. And from there, the stages just started getting more and more complex. I'll run through the past few Super Bowls that I've been fortunate to be part of. This is Paul McCartney, Rolling Stones. This is the famous Prince stage, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Bruce Springsteen. This is The Who. Black Eyed Peas. Madonna. Beyonce. This is Katy Perry. Coldplay. Lady Gaga. Justin Timberlake. Maroon 5. Shakira and J-Lo, and last year's interesting show with The Weeknd, which we'll talk about the challenges of that show a little later as well. So the Super Bowl halftime show is almost every year the most watched thing on TV. More people watch the halftime show than do watch the game itself. The current record is the slide I'm showing here, the Katy Perry halftime show, which reportedly had 120.7 million people that watched that event live on TV. So the NFL doesn't produce the halftime shows. They are the client in this instance. They have input and ultimately final say of what the artist that is chosen, but they hire production companies to produce the shows. the progression basically is as soon as the Super Bowl ends, they're working on the next halftime show. And they prioritize artists of who they want to go after and, reach out to those prospective performers. Once the artist is signed, then the lead creative team gets together, which includes the executive producer, the stage designer, the lighting designer, the director of the show. They begin discussing concepts with the artists. And then the artist is typically announced to the general public in October or November. So since 1998, dyslexia kicking in there, 1998, I've been in charge of sourcing and managing the field team members. Those are the people who we train to move and assemble the stages, the large rolling carts, and all the scenic elements. So you'll see that from year to year, configuration of the stage and lighting and everything else is totally different. We don't recycle anything. Everything is brand new. And the carts are all shapes and sizes. They all have their challenges as far as movement and getting around. Some of them are, a couple 100 pounds. Some of them, like this giant monster, was from the Madonna show. It had a very large hydraulic lift in it, which we call the up-down suite, where Madonna came up through the floor, and with all the components. And this doesn't even have half of the lights or audio or anything on it yet, and it was still large. So we had some large people that were pushing that particular cart. But like I said, all shapes and sizes. We always have challenges. This is a nice rain rehearsal that we did in a parking lot. Couldn't be on the field, so we were rehearsing in the parking lot. And one of the other, I'll pause here in a second. One of the other constraints that we have, so that the stage can be, there's really no constraints on the football field aspect, but the carts do have to be able to go down the tunnels that access the field. And quite often there are tunnels that are very close to a goalpost. And that's what if you see the scaffolding here, we set up this fake goalpost because they have to do an immediate left or right turn coming out of the tunnel in order to avoid those. And so just one more, every city we're in has different challenges. This particular city had a goalpost very close to the edge of the tunnel, and we had to make a right turn, which kind of slow things down just a little bit. So we use in between 400 and 700 field team members for each year. In addition to that, we use 40 to 60 IATSE professional stagehands as cart leaders for each of the carts. If you don't know what IATSE is, it's the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. Safety is priority one. These stages, as you saw in some of the pictures, and you'll see a little bit later, some of them are massive, and they have pinch points, and they have things sticking out, and so just the sheer enormity of these things, and to have people that aren't used to doing this kind of work, doing the work, we have to do safety protocol constantly. Every rehearsal, we start out with the safety briefings, going through each cart. They have to go through where their safety problems might be, and that's always priority. Of the field team members, as you'll see in the slide, 99% of them come in with no stagehand experience. These are not professionals. These are average, everyday people, all walks of life, all backgrounds. Our only constraint is they have to be over the age of 18. We have some members that are 18 2 days after the Super Bowl, and some people that are in their 80s. Kid you not, we have some 80-year-olds that come and see us every year. My recruiting strategy from city to city is, it varies, but it's a lot of times driven by the artist demographic. For example, for the Bruce Springsteen show, our field team members that applied skewed a little bit on the older side. Whereas when we did the Maroon 5 show, it was a little bit younger crowd that applied to be a part of the field team. I've had to do pushes in certain cities in order to get the numbers I need. Go on print media, go on the TV, go on the radio. Recently, it's been mostly driven by social media for obvious reasons. We could reach a lot of people fast and doing the work that way. We're fortunate to have a bunch of people, and it grows every year, that follow us from city to city. We call these guys our super field team. They're our supers. They make it an annual trip. They take vacations from their jobs and come out and be a part of the show every year. And it's the highlight of the year, just to be a part of it. They don't until what was the year? Until 2014. Up until that point, these were all volunteers. They got paid. They didn't get paid at all. They were just the thrill of being on the field and volunteering their time. Since 2014, we've paid our field team, but it's a very nominal fee. So those people who travel are covering their own hotel, their own costs, and just doing it on their own dime. We have upwards of 250 supers now, the past couple of years, that have been following us. So it makes my job a little easier, and they're excited about it, and we'd love to have them come. Last year in Tampa, we used all supers. We had a smaller crew for what we needed for that halftime show. And the slide that you see now are all the supers that were involved in last year's the weekend show, as you can see by their KN95 masks that they had on. With that salary component, it kind of complicated my life a little bit from 2014 on, in that doing payroll for 700 people, we really have to make sure we're tracking who's at rehearsals and who's not at rehearsals, doing the post game, the taxation, all that kind of thing. It was a whole nother level of stuff that I had to learn. Our production was very kind in giving me some extra assistance in there, and it's gotten a lot easier, but it was still a big component that I had to deal with. Here's a kind of a fast motion setup from a couple years ago, just to show you kind of what's going on. This is a dress rehearsal, obviously not game day. The field is tarped, and you'll see, each cart piece with their people, bringing everything in. Each field team member needs to commit between 25 and 35 hours of rehearsal time prior, and we begin those rehearsals about 2 weeks before Super Bowl Sunday. The producers and the artists and the NFL really try to keep the show under wraps until game day. The set list, the stage design. Obviously, the people know who the artist is, but we try to keep almost everything else a secret. Everybody signs non-disclosure agreements, so they're not supposed to post anything on social media. And the NFL actually has social media team that 24 hours a day scrubs and searches keywords for anything related to the halftime show that's not supposed to be out there, and they get that taken down as quickly as they can. Well, that doesn't apply to TV news helicopters, unfortunately, because this was in 2017. This was Lady Gaga's set, which from a news helicopter in an open roof was splattered all over the local news, and then obviously picked up by TMZ and everyone else. So at least the set design for that show was kind of blown ahead of time, which was a bit of a drag, but oh well. Attrition rates is something that I have had to deal with every year. I started tracking it back in 2005, tracking it closely. And the figure on the right, the percentage on the right that you see next to all these cities, are those who committed to attending and being a field team member, but did not attend. So you'll see in 2009, 10, 11, 12, it got up in the high 70s and 80s, which was, that's when I really had to do these big media pushes and really try to find extra people. It's leveled off a little bit in 2016, 17. This is a lot of, for the biggest thing I could think of is we have a lot more traveling people, and we've returned to these cities before. So I have a built-in base of people that I can go to see who wants to apply as a field team member. We had a little spike in 2019 back to 70%. So that was troubling. We had to fill that pretty quickly. Miami was 51%, and last year was 0%. Everybody who said they were coming, these were all supers, mind you, but everybody who was attended to come did actually show up. So basically what this means is if I need 700 people on an average attrition of 65%, I need to actually hire about 1,600 people and then cross my fingers that 1,600 don't show up for the first rehearsal, because then we would have to pay them when we only need 700 people, and the producers don't like that. But that's never happened. We've never had too many in the first rehearsal. We've had just enough first rehearsal the past few times. So I think I'm getting a little bit better at that. Stage design. Let's get into stage design a little bit. It obviously affects our recruiting, because I don't know how many people I need to try to source until the stage gets designed and all the carts get parceled out and we know how many people are going to be involved in the show. So the stage is, in collaboration with the artist and the stage designer, who has been Bruce Rogers from Tribe Design for the past several years. Does an amazing job working with the artist and coming up with a concept and design that works for everyone. And so he's been, this is from the 2017 Lady Gaga show, all these slides I'm showing you now. Just the different ways they're able to present graphically without actually having to build these carts, what it could look like. And so you'll see this one is all labeled with all the different towers and everything that it shows. This is the different types of graphic renderings that they can do to show. This is just one element, the star, very large, heavy piece that was in Lady Gaga's show. Up here on the right, you'll see these are different platforms that she could use in order to get different elevations, and just different graphic ways that they are able to show everyone involved, lighting designers, everyone, what the show is eventually going to look like. Here's the ground plan. So it shows how much real estate it takes up on the field. That star cart that you saw previously is this big monster here. That's all one piece, pushed by probably, I think you had 35 people pushing that sucker out. It was a big, nasty thing. This is what I call the Ring of Fire. It's a set that I have to design every year. So once each cart gets parked, the people who pushed it on have to go somewhere. We don't send them out of the stadium. We don't send them into the tunnels. They're part of the show. We get to they get to experience the halftime show live on the field. So we send them to certain areas. In the past several years, we've used what's called the Ring of Fire. These are audio carts, these gray pieces that are all circling. And we just put people in between the audio carts, and it creates not only a nice picture, but it keeps the press from encroaching onto the playing surface where we want to show either audience, cast, or open field space. So this is just a representation of where those people need to go. This was also 2017 when 3D printing started coming in big, and so this is our first, that I know of, the first 3D printed model that we used to show and to rehearse with. Big thing from the staging end is our stop motion stage setup. We do this way in advance of the first rehearsal. And basically, this is Doug Cook, one of our staging supervisors, with a phone and a device that when you clap your hands, it takes a picture. So we go through and spend about 4 hours. This doesn't look like it takes 4 hours, but it takes about 4 hours to do a design of how each piece is going to take the field, where it's going to stop. If it's going to park and stay, then it shows that parking and staying. Some of them have to come on the field and hold and wait for another piece to park before it joins up. And then once the cart leader has released the field team members, they go to the sidelines. So that's the graphic of that. Here's a different model that we use in the war room in order to talk through where different stage leads are going to be. And just to be able to, again, just visually see where everything needs to go on a day-to-day basis. I'll show you quickly, because it's a little more fun to see. I'll show you a graphic of that same Lady Gaga run-in. So we do cameras up in the high levels for each rehearsal, so you can see where we might be able to make some time up. And this is just all the carts coming in. This doesn't have the field team members going to their exact clear positions. I don't think we've taught that yet. But here are all the carts coming in, parking, docking, and then starting to get powered up with lights and everything else. And so that's a representation of that. So everybody asks about the Prince show. Prince, if you ask anybody who's been involved in any of these shows, they will almost to a person will say that their favorite show they've worked on is the Prince show, and it's very highly regarded in television history as one of the better shows. There's a lot of reasons why. The stage wasn't particularly complicated. Here's a rendering of it or a photo of it being built in Los Angeles before it got shipped off to Miami. You see those only 12 pieces, which is kind of small from some other shows. We used about 400. Well, we used exactly 417 field team members on the show. So of those 12 pieces, they were parceled out 417 people. Here's some dress rehearsal shots of that show. The reason that I love the show so much, there was so many things that could go wrong. It started raining at about 1 a.m. In Miami on Super Bowl Sunday, and it did not stop the entire day. It was monsoonal at some points, but definitely there was a drizzle at some point all day. There's a very famous story. Don Mischer, who was producing that show, called Prince in the late morning and said, "Hey, Prince, it's raining," and he just was trying to gauge, if what Prince's feeling was about the moment. And Prince just fired back and said, "Yeah, can you make it rain harder?" So that's where he was, and it turned out to be just one of the most electric performances that I've ever been a part of. I'm very very happy to have been able to be there for that. I'll show you just a tiny touch of the rain that was coming down on game day as we were loading the carts in. So you'll see on the upper right here, when they zoom into this cart, it doesn't really look like much now, but it was really coming down. The visibility was bad. It was hard to see what was going on. It was hard to hear because of the rain. Everything about this, and then everything had to be powered up and plugged in, and yet it all still came off without a hitch. And like I said, it goes down really does go down in Super Bowl history, and it's a very memorable one for us. The field is as important as the players, as the halftime show, as anything else to the NFL. This is George Toma. He has been the grounds person, the head groundskeeper for all 55 Super Bowls. It's amazing. He's a Southern California person, and he is the field guru, and he makes sure that all of the everything looks perfect on game day. You see, this is a game day shot. Field looks amazing. This is him staring back at me like, "Yeah, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?" Yes, it did. We do tarp the field, as I showed you previously, and we also have to put the field up, the stage up on plywood. And the plywooding of not game day for the rehearsals. The plywooding is just to protect the wheels from marring the turf, especially when the stage is on the field for any number of time, any amount of time while the artist is rehearsing. This is what happens when Shakira and J-Lo and their dancers get going on the field. These carts are almost coming off the ground with the dancing that's going on. So you can see how they're a little concerned about the field getting damaged from the carts. And they look at that closely and monitor the amount of time that we're able to be on the field. closely each year. Quickly, I'll go through some of the more challenging shows that we've been involved that I've been involved with. This is the Who show. You'll see it had 14 total band cart. We call them the band stage carts pieces, and then it had 26 radials. And it was a beast to put on the field. You see, it goes basically from 25-yard line, from sideline to sideline. There was no audience or cast on the field for this show. It was all stage and the Who. This is dress rehearsal, getting the pieces put in place. Very crucial to get these things in the right place, because if they are a little bit off, in the early builds of it, it's going to create a huge gap or not enough space for the last piece to come in. The other thing that we had to deal with in this show was a lot of rain during dress rehearsals. This is our entertainment compound where we have the stage set up, the band card stage set up inside a tent. And this is a stage rendering that is floating away because there was so much rain coming through our compound. It was fun. But as you see, everything powered up, everything was well lit, everything turned out really nicely. Still a very iconic stage. The other stage that was particularly challenging recently was the Maroon 5 stage from a few years ago. It was the way it was built. You see these carts number 1, 2, 4 are the first ones to dock. This is just how it had to be. But the stage is in the shape of an M, which means there's a point at the end, which really needed to end up on the 50-yard line. Otherwise, it was going to skew everything a little bit. So this was, and as you can see, these weren't small pieces. This is just a medium size of one of those Maroon 5 pieces. Here's the total build. Here is where we ended up on dress rehearsal day. So this is one of my favorite pictures of all time. Out of all these sets, 1, 2, all these pieces that got set up in this order, cart number 14 ended up right on the 50-yard line at dress rehearsal, which was the only time that it happened. It was the first time it happened. It was the only time it happened. It's a little off game day, I'll have to tell you, but you throw some audience in front of it and nobody can tell. So that's a little insight. Nobody knows that. You know it. Last year, for obvious reasons, particularly challenging. I had a smaller crew. We had a dedicated COVID team that was hired just for all the COVID protocols. We had to test every day. We had our own testing station outside of our compound, outside the perimeter of the stadium that we had to go through every day. The stage itself, partially because of the COVID restraints and not being able to put a whole ton of people on the field, the stage was built primarily on the concourse level of the stadium. See, there's the seats down here. It was built up into the concourse level, and we did have some stage elements that were rolled onto the field. At the end of if you saw the performance of the weekend at the last song, Blinding Lights, he comes down on the field and dances with a team of about 120 dancers. We provided the lights, the lighting, and the stair units that it took to get the dancers from up here and the weekend from up in the concourse level down to the field, and the lights to light them all up. So this is them on the field. Lastly, we're very excited that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio has opened just last weekend, actually, opened an exhibit called The Greatest Show on Turf. It's going to close in September, but it's got memorabilia from the 55 years of halftime shows. And as you can see, there's Left Shark and Katy Perry's outfit. It has a complete infinity room from last year's performance. It's the largest portion of the exhibit. It's just the infinity room with the lights and the mirrors that was used last year for the weekend. But I hope to be able to get to Cleveland to see it myself. I contributed some photos and some other things to it, so I hope to get over there to see that. And that's it. That's a 24-minute miracle, and hope you think it's a miracle also. And happy to field any questions if you have them.
Yeah, Bryan, thank you. I think you should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, my man.
Oh,
You need to go there and be in it. Be part of the exhibit. Yeah, yeah. Hey, I have a question. As we're waiting for the audience to chime in, is the artist involved in the design? Like, how involved was Gaga? Because I know that she really, and in rehearsal, I understand she was a hard worker. And how involved do the artists get with the design?
Very much. They're all very involved. I'm not involved directly in those meetings, but from what I understand, and certain artists are more involved in the very intricate details than others. But they're all to some point involved in the design. Sometimes they want to see different renderings, different ideas. Sometimes they come into it with a preconceived idea of this is what I want. I think Prince probably said, "Here's my stage, do it." And it had his iconic Prince logo, and that was the stage, so that was an easy one. Others may have things that they want to, they definitely want to move around, so they want to be able to either go from a small stage to a big stage or whatever. Some people want to stay on one big stage and have it a large performance surface. So I think the artists do have a huge input in how it eventually gets designed.
Yeah, and some of them want to jump off the roof into the stadium. Was that her idea to come off the roof?
I'm not sure if that was her idea or not. I heard she actually has a fear of heights, and there was some talking into with that one. So I'm not sure if it was her idea, but she bought into it in any case.
Yeah, and those were real drones behind her, right? From what I understand, that were flying. Then they shot that 3 days before, I think. And I think that was one of the big secrets that everybody was trying to keep, because the helicopter came over and they started talking about the rumors of her jumping off the roof and stuff. But I remember how fast that roof closed, I'll tell you, after that helicopter came over. That thing closed up pretty quickly.
Yeah, true story.
Yeah. How do we follow you on social media to find out what else you're doing in your world? Is that possible? Do you have a...
The Super Bowl, my Super Bowl website has the pertinent information about the show. If anybody's interested in getting involved in the show, actually next year's in LA, you might know. So, and with the show being very non-field centric last year, I'm assuming that we're going to have a little blowout field situation this year, and I'm going to need a lot of people. So SuperBowlProductions.com is the website for the the basic information about the show, when the rehearsals are going to start, that kind of thing.
SuperBowlProductions.com.
Great.
Hey, how did you get your start, Bryan? Like, where obviously the athletic band intersecting of pieces, is that part of your brain?
A lot of people thought it was, my job here at San Diego State, being a band director. A lot of people thought it was my Charger involvement that got me involved in the Super Bowl. It really, it was more my band association. The person who was producing the halftime show of Super Bowl 32 was a recent graduate and a band person from it escapes me. Michigan State Band. He came from the Michigan State Band, and he knew they were going to have a lot of intricate field movements, and he wanted a marching band type person to be his crew chief that can tell people where to go on a football field in the correct terms and get it done quickly. And so that was my start. I just he hired me to basically find the people and basically do what I'm still doing now. This was back in 1998, and I thank him every chance I get for him pulling me into this weird world of Super Bowl.
Yeah. Gratitude is a good thing, and also relationships are a good thing, and networking and keeping those long-term relationships going, and you never know when they're going to come back to help you.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite part of the process from start to finish, Bryan? And what was your most difficult moment, do you think?
Favorite part of the process is the just seeing these people every year. I'm kind of the anomaly. Most of the people that I work with are entertainment professionals, and that's all they do. They're working on the Oscars. A couple days ago, they're working on this and that. They do large scale events all over the place. I'm the band guy who comes in every year, but I get to reunite with all these great people. The core, even though the production companies have changed, the core staging group has not changed very much in the last 20 years for me. So I get to see these people for 3 weeks out of the year in whatever city we're in, and just, we pick up right where we left off, and it's just a great time.
Yeah.
Challenges, every year it's something different. This year wasn't going to be a challenge until COVID, and then the COVID thing became. It was challenging, but at the same time, my crew was so small and they were all returners, that it was very easy to manage. Just the unknown of the attrition rates and hiring the right amount of people, and that's a big question mark every year. So that's probably my biggest challenge.
Sure. And what do you think contributes to the attrition rate? What is that?
It's various factors. In the slide that I showed that had the Dallas show, you may recall there was a huge ice storm.
Yeah, I remember.
And we lost people that had signed up just because they couldn't travel. I mean, obviously not everybody lives around the stadium. They have to travel in, and people just were not even willing to get on the road. And so, it's things like that. Gotcha.
And is it first come, first serve if people want to sign up, or, how do you?
Pretty much. We give special nods to those people who are returning. So I have a grid of everyone who's done every Super Bowl. And once we hit my preconceived capacity of what I think I need to hire, with factoring in some attrition, then we make sure that anybody else who comes in the next little bit after that is put into the show if they're a returning person. But for the most part, they're all, it is a timestamp, date stamp type of deal where, once we get the applications in, I'll invite a certain amount of people to the first rehearsal.
Yeah.
And if we don't have enough people at that first rehearsal, then I'll start down the list of the multiple people that we've collected from there on.
Gotcha. Now, do these people tell you they're not going to show up? I'm just curious.
No,
they just not show up. They just not show up? Oh,
yeah.
My goodness. Oh, my. That must make you.
If they tell me they're not going to show up, I take them off, and that they're not included in that number. So this is just people who.
My goodness.
I don't want to call them flakes, but yeah.
Yeah. So what do they need to send to? They just look for that deadline when they open and send a resume, or what else?
No, it's not even a resume really. It's just that on the Super Bowl production site, once we have information, once we know the artist or the rehearsal schedule, when it's going to be, we'll open up the application. And I would say typically that happens in October. It never happens before October. So I'd say if they start looking October 1 around that site, they would be able to see that information, see where the rehearsals are, and how many there are.
Gotcha. Awesome. Just seeing if there's any more questions in the chat as we have just a couple more minutes with you, Bryan. Have you ever missed your mark on the time?
No.
That must just be pure adrenaline. I mean, I can only imagine what fuels you.
The thing is, it's very rare that even at dress rehearsal day, the very last rehearsal we have, that we meet our expectation of time. We never tell the stage crew, we time every single run. We never tell them what the time was, because it's such a safety concern. And if they're thinking they need to do extra to make up some time or push harder or move faster, we don't use the words hurry up or get going or, anything like that while rehearsals are going on. It's just too dangerous. But we come close during dress rehearsals to meeting our time, but then game day is always, we shave, literally, 30, 40 seconds off of everything just because of the adrenaline, and, we've rehearsed it enough. We know what we're doing, and we get it done. And
that's why they call it the 24-minute miracle, because
Correct.
You get it done every single time without fail.
Failure.
I'm doing it, man. I'm doing it. Thank you so much, Bryan. I think this was fantastic, and I appreciate you doing this for the students. And for those of you that are still watching, SuperBowlProduction.com, was it, Bryan?
SuperBowlProductions.com, yeah.
With an S, productions.com. Great. Yep. Well, you have a bunch of event planning students here, so you might just see Los Angeles get your numbers back. Let's get that attrition number lower, Bryan.
Let's do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Yeah. Be well.